All right, NFL playoff football is here. I'm excited. I have predictions. We have wild card weekend coming up. Let's go. Browns at the Texans. It's got to be the Texans. CJ Stroud looks like an MVP, and Deshaun Watson's nowhere to be found. I think that's Texans in a blowout. We've got the Dolphins upsetting the Chiefs at Arrowhead. The Chiefs, their defense, their offense have not been what it was. They're overrated. Dolphins coming in as the 6th seed are underrated. They're one of the best teams in the AFC. Look out for the Dolphins. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Steelers at the Bills. Bills underrated. Steelers overrated. How are the Steelers even here? It's ridiculous. Got to go Bills in a big time blowout. It's a -9.5 line. It should be -13.5. I'm taking the Bills to cover. Packers at Cowboys. Jordan Love playing way beyond anyone imagined. You got to go Cowboys. Yeah, I wanted to take the Packers. Got to go Cowboys. Rams at the Lions. Rams are rolling. We have the Matthew Stafford revenge game, but still, it's the Lions. The Lions are favored by 3.5. I think they cover. I think they win by more than that. Eagles are at the Buccaneers. I like the Eagles, even though the Bucs have played well. Eagles have played poorly. Jalen Hurts is less than 100%. I get it all. I understand all of that. I think the Eagles figure it out. I'm probably wrong. It's what I'm least confident about. Eagles have to figure this out. They have to, don't they? Don't they? It's probably the Buccaneers. All right. What are my picks for the AFC Conference Final? We know it's the Ravens. The Ravens are the best team by far. They've been blowing everybody out. They even blew out the 49ers. I think it's Dolphins at Ravens. I think the Dolphins advance and ultimately face off against the Ravens. The problem is if the Dolphins beat the Chiefs, then they will face the Ravens in the next round, so that's actually impossible. Okay? So in order for that to happen, the Steelers would then have to beat the Bills. So I can't actually go with that. Ultimately, it's going to be Bills-Ravens. God damn it. I wanted to say Dolphins, but it's not possible. It's not possible. So, damn. Chalk. Bills-Ravens. So that's the AFC. NFC. It's not the Cowboys. We're going Lions at the 49ers. You might say, well, how, Lions are going to beat the Cowboys? Yeah, they beat the Cowboys already. The refs stole the game. That Taylor Decker touchdown should have counted regardless. It was if a play is awesome enough, it should count regardless. So it's going to be Lions at the 49ers. I think the 49ers and Ravens advance. It's going to be a replay of the Harbaugh Bowl featuring Colin Kaepernick from close to 10 years ago. And the 49ers take it down. The 49ers take it down. You have Brock Purdy as the MVP. 49ers roll. It's going to be a big debate because the Ravens beat the 49ers handily, but that was a 4-interception game from Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, number 1 in true passer rating. Brock Purdy, number 1 in QBR. It's going to be Brock Purdy leading the way. No more interceptions in the Super Bowl, winning the MVP. He is the next Tom Brady.
What's going on? This is Theo Greminger, a.k.a. the OG Fantasy, back at it. NFL playoffs. Yeah, NFL playoffs. We're here. This is going to be an amazing NFL playoffs. I think it's going to be completely lit. A bunch of games that I'm really, really excited about, and I think you should be as well. I'm going to rip through. I'm going to pick every single wild card game this weekend, and I'm also going to give you my picks to go deep in the NFL playoffs. I'm going to give you my Super Bowl selections. I'm going to give you that Super Bowl champion as well. The first game we got to talk about, it's a great one, really exciting one. Houston, Cleveland. Houston is hosting the Cleveland Browns. Right now, the line is like 2.5. Cleveland's a short favorite. And I got to say, it looks like a Houston-type game. In Houston, CJ Stroud, The home crowd is going to be incredibly revved up, an incredible opportunity for DeMeco Ryans in his first year as head coach to get a win in a home playoff game. But I got to say, I love the Cleveland Browns. And I think Cleveland goes in there. They have a more experienced roster. They have a unbelievable defense. And I think that's going to be the difference in the game. I think they're going to be able to get enough pressure on CJ Stroud. And I think Joe Flacco is going to continue his very high level of play. Also, the Houston secondary can get completely lit up. And I think that the Cleveland passing game is going to be good enough. Cleveland goes in, wins by 7 points. Game number 2 for me to look at. This one's tricky. This is Kansas City versus Miami. These teams squared off earlier in the year in Germany, and Miami was completely shut down. The score was only made a little bit closer at the end because Raheem Mostert had a touchdown run in literally like the last 45 seconds of the game. He fell in the end zone, made the score a little bit tighter. Both offenses were disappointing in that game. Kansas City won, basically a low-scoring affair. Big letdown that game for fantasy football. This game might be a little bit different. So right now the line is Kansas City minus 3.5 in Arrowhead. Saturday night football, an 8 p.m. spot. It's going to be incredibly revved up. Mike McDaniel's Miami offense getting into KC. Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, the Super Bowl champions, and I like the outright upset. I think that this is a game where we saw last year Miami nearly broke through with an upset win over Buffalo in the first round of the fantasy football, of the NFL playoffs with Skylar Thompson behind center. They had enough of a game plan. The ball bounced their way enough where they had an opportunity to defeat Josh Allen. This game, I think Miami actually gets it done. I don't trust the Kansas City offense. I have a little bit more trust in the Miami offense. I think Mike McDaniel gets his big signature win as Miami's head coach, beats Kansas City on the road, Miami by 4. Game number 3, we're going to stay in the AFC, and this one's easy. Buffalo are double-digit favorites over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh reeled off 3 straight wins to end the season, but before that, they lost to New England. They lost to Arizona. And you have Mason Rudolph on the road in Buffalo. Buffalo Bills by 21, blowout. Taking it over the NFC, we have the Green Bay Packers going into Dallas. Dallas has had 4 games at home this year with more than 40 points scored. There's simply too much firepower for Dallas at home to lose this game. But I think that Jordan Love is going to come in there and give it a go. I think Jaden Reed has a very big game, and I think the Green Bay makes it a little trickier than Dallas Cowboys fans want to see. Dallas Cowboys by 6. If you're keeping track, that would be a positive result for Green Bay in certain circumstances. Then arguably the most fun game from a fantasy football perspective, and that's the Matt Stafford revenge game. You have the LA Rams, who 2 seasons ago won the Super Bowl. Then last year, it all came crumbling down, completely revamped their offense. And now you have the Rams heading into Detroit. Detroit is going to be absolutely rocking. This is the 8 o'clock game on Sunday evening. Matt Stafford holds every single record for Detroit Lions quarterback play. Most passing yards, most passing touchdowns. And he leads it by an incredibly wide margin. Now Matt Stafford goes into Detroit, plays one of the better teams in the NFC. This game is sneaky, though. The Rams can score, and the Rams have been red hot in the second half of the season. The Lions are favored by 3.5 points. I think this game comes right down to the wire, and I think Detroit wins the game by 1. I think this game is gonna live up to the spectacle of a high-scoring environment. Detroit 30, LA Rams 29, shootout. Then the final game of the week is Monday Night Football. And you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting a Monday night playoff game, just like last year. Last year, Dallas came in and smacked Tampa Bay. This year, Tampa Bay is hosting last year's NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles. Tampa Bay are 3-point underdogs at home in Tampa. These two teams met earlier in the season, and Philadelphia completely handled Tampa Bay. This time, it feels a little bit different. Tampa Bay is by no means a perfect team, but Philadelphia has been reeling. Philadelphia has really been struggling over the second half of the season, especially towards the end of the year. They got off to a red hot start, and then all of a sudden, it's been really, really poor play recently for Philadelphia. I think that they are ripe for an upset. I think that Tampa Bay gets it done. Tampa Bay wins this game 27-24. It is Baker Mayfield's swan song, or not his swan song, but his high point as an NFL quarterback. I think Baker Mayfield gets a signature win as Tampa Bay's quarterback. They beat the Philadelphia Eagles in a relatively high-scoring game, and that's it. That's all she wrote. A lost season for the Philadelphia Eagles. So I gave you my wild card picks, and this is how it's going to play out. Baltimore is going to play Cleveland next weekend. Cleveland's going to beat Houston, and Cleveland is going to go into Baltimore and upset the AFC's number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens. Cleveland defense steps up, limits Lamar Jackson. The Cleveland offense with Joe Flacco revenge game. Joe Flacco beats Baltimore goes into Baltimore and gets the win. Buffalo would host Miami. Miami will be riding high after the Kansas City win, but Buffalo gets it done. Back-to-back cold weather games catch up to Miami. Buffalo gets the win over Miami. Then on the other side, the NFC playoffs, San Francisco would host Tampa Bay. San Francisco will blow the doors off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Blowout. Big-time blowout. They walk away from that game 35-10, San Francisco 49ers. And then Dallas-Detroit, we just saw a really, really entertaining game that came right down to the wire. Dallas wins at the end. That's going to happen again. Dallas Cowboys in Dallas will beat the Detroit Lions. It'll be another very close game, but Dallas will get it done. Going back to the AFC Championship game, Cleveland will go into Buffalo, and the Buffalo Bills will defeat the Cleveland Browns. It'll finally catch up to Joe Flacco. That pass rush is going to get to Joe Flacco, and Josh Allen gets his signature win as a Buffalo Bill. The Buffalo Bills go to the Super Bowl. They completely turn things around. Joe Brady turns things around as offensive coordinator, and the Buffalo Bills make the Super Bowl. On the other side in the NFC, San Francisco will be riding very high. Brock Purdy, Shanahan, they've had an unbelievable season. They have been unbelievable all year, but the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott go into San Francisco and get the upset win. The Super Bowl will be Buffalo versus Dallas, a rematch of Super Bowl 27, and it is Dak Prescott time. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys win their first Super Bowl in quite some time. This is going to be Dak Prescott as the Super Bowl MVP and Dallas Cowboys as your Super Bowl champions. Check out all of the rest of the videos we have here at Player Profiler. Follow all of my written work at playerprofiler.com, and check out my podcasts right here on Player Profiler YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Theo Greminger. Enjoy these NFL playoffs. Stick with us at Player Profiler. We got you covered all throughout the NFL playoffs and beyond.
What's up, everyone? These are my NFL playoff picks for 2023. We'll start off with the AFC, Cleveland versus Houston. This is tough because I live in Houston, and while you guys know that I am a diehard Packers fan, I really do want Houston to succeed this year, and I love CJ Stroud. I want them to win this game so bad, but the NFL script was spoiled to me months ago, and I hate to tell you this, but Cleveland wins this game, so Joe Flacco can return to Baltimore and get his second revenge game of 2024. Now, moving on to Kansas City and Miami. My preference here is for Miami to win and Tyreek to go off, but Miami on the road in a painful winter game with their team beat up, I just don't see it happening. This is literally the best draw that Kansas City could have gotten. Kansas City takes this win, but in a low Low scoring game, very close here. Next up, Buffalo versus Pittsburgh. Buffalo is on fire. Kudos to them for making the offensive adjustments to do a complete 180. They're the hottest team in the playoffs, and they win this game with ease. Then we have Baltimore versus Cleveland. The Joe Flacco revenge game 2.0. He demolished the Jets, but the Cinderella run ends here. Lamar Jackson gets one step closer to the Super Bowl and MVP. Then we've also got Kansas City versus Buffalo. Buffalo finally does it here. They take down Kansas City and they head to the AFC Championship game. And that leaves us with Baltimore versus Buffalo. And this is a fresh look AFC Championship that we have been craving. Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen. I predict an epic, unforgettable game here with Baltimore ultimately winning. Then moving on to the NFC, we got Tampa Bay versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia is in an absolute tailspin, unfortunately, but Tampa isn't exactly coming in performing at peak level either. So this matchup here of two teams literally with terrible defense, and they will not be able to stop each other. The win goes to the team with more experience. Philadelphia gets the victory here, but it isn't exactly impressive on their part. Then we have Detroit versus LA. I am so excited for this game. This is the game of games. This is going to have so much offense. Matt Stafford versus Jared Goff. This is literally what we have been waiting for. And again, the script is going to, according to plan here, for the NFL, I would like for Jared Goff to win this game because he gets a bad rep. And he's a fine quarterback. I defend Jared Goff. But LA is just playing on another level right now, and they take the victory. But Goff plays very well here. We are always pro Jared Goff in Detroit, so do not be afraid of Detroit props. I'm just saying. Then we've got Dallas versus Green Bay. So many revengey narratives here in these playoffs. Mike McCarthy versus his literal replacement, Matt LaFleur. This is not a homer pick here. Jordan Love is feeling himself right now, as he should. I have been riding with him all season long. This is my boy. In his first year as a starter, he makes the playoffs, and he gets his first playoff win in Dallas. Go Packers. Then that leaves us with Green Bay versus San Francisco. Now, my fandom does have its limits, and the limits are right here. Kyle Shanahan versus Matt LaFleur. I do think that Green Bay holds up fairly well, and they don't get embarrassed, but San Francisco takes this one without much of a struggle. Then we've got the LA Rams versus Philadelphia. This one is pretty simple. Philadelphia was blessed with their first matchup. They lose here, and Stafford absolutely lights up this defense in the most demoralizing way. And that leaves us with San Francisco versus the LA Rams. This is where I get spicy in the NFC Championship game. If the Rams are 100% healthy here, they win this. I know, Kyle Shanahan versus Sean McVay, but when Matt Stafford, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp are all healthy, this is one of the best teams in the NFL. And finally, our Super Bowl matchup, the Ravens versus the Rams. The Rams making it this far is a true testament to Matt Stafford and Sean McVay, but this is Lamar Jackson's year. Negotiating his own contract, putting himself into being the MVP frontrunner. And the finale will be Super Bowl championship. This right here is his year. And of course, Lamar Jackson is the Super Bowl MVP. Spoiler alert, the script in 2023 was Lamar Jackson's Hall of Fame year. Here we go. If you love what you're hearing, and I hope you do, make sure to check out my show, the Dear Miss Fantasy Show, right here on the Player Profiler Network.
What's going on, Player Profiler Nation? It's Matty Keyw, and I am here today to break down the NFL playoffs and give you my predictions for how they will pan out. Let's just get right on into the field. First match I'm going to talk about is the Browns heading to the Houston Texans to play the Texans. I'm going to take the Browns there. The defense is too good. Joe Flacco is playing quite well, and I don't think that the Texans are quite where they need to be. They still have a whole lot of evolution, a whole lot of evolving to do. So give me the upset Browns going to Houston. In the AFC, Dolphins are heading to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. Talk about between a rock and a hard place. Dolphins win. They host the Bills. They lose. They go to Kansas City. Was not a great Week 18 for the Fins. And I don't think it's going to be a great wild card bonanza weekend for the Miami Dolphins. I do think they lose to the home Chiefs. Chiefs will have had basically a week off. All their starters rested in Week 18. They did win in LA, which means nothing, but at least it keeps momentum going in the right direction for the Super Bowl champs. And I just don't think the Dolphins are tough enough. I don't think that they're well-rounded enough to head to Arrowhead and win that game. So give me the Chiefs moving on in round number 1 of the wild card round. And the last matchup that we're going to see of the AFC in wild card weekend is the Steelers heading to Buffalo to take on the Bills Mafia. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills, the winners of 5 straight. Josh Allen can still go Super Saiyan mode. But I think this game is going to be a hell of a lot closer than a lot of people may initially predict. Steelers, well coached. They're playing at least good brand of football, winning in Seattle, winning against the Ravens, even though Ravens bench most of their best players. They get in, but they have to go all the way to Buffalo and take on Josh Allen, the Bills. So give me the Bills. So my teams advancing in the AFC would be the Browns, Chiefs, and Bills. Now headed on to the wild card bonanza on the NFC side. The Eagles head down to Florida to take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Eagles are not playing good football. They have been the tush push ain't enough for the Eagles. And I don't think that they head down to Tampa and fly Eagle fly. I think they lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jalen Hurts now has a hurt finger. A.J. Brown went down with a knee injury. I do believe they play, but at what limit, at what level, what is their extent of these injuries? How much are they hindered by them? Their secondary has been shite all year. Baker's been playing up, I would say, given his career. And I think that at home, they can prevail and get a win against the Eagles because the Eagles are just not doing all that great right now. And that momentum means a whole lot as you head to the dance. So give me the Bucs winners at home. Rams and Lions. This was probably the hardest game that I had to pick in the first wild card weekend. Matt Stafford heading back to Detroit. The Lions taking care of business week 18, but did they get too banged up? I know Amon-Ra came back in and scored a touchdown, but just seeing him go down is not good for the team. They've had, health is not something that they want to play around with, and they may have got a few injuries, a couple of guys banged up. Man, oh man, what am I going to go with here? I initially had the Rams. I initially picked the Rams. I think I might be – no, I'm going with the Rams. The Rams, when they have Stafford, Puka, Kupp, and Kyron Williams, are one of the best offenses in the league. And I just think that the Lions still lion themselves too much. That game against Dallas, yeah, you could say what it was, ref's fault, blah, 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 but that was Dan Campbell going for 2. He should not have gone for 2 after the penalty happened. It is over. You stop doing what you're doing. You don't go for 2 again. I think that the Lions are still just not ready to be winners quite yet, and they get upset at home. And Detroit Lions fans, I'm sorry, but the pain continues. Rams move on. Last game of wildcard weekend. Packers takes on the boys, the Dallas Cowboys. Packers are a tough matchup for the Cowboys, but in Dallas, they've been too good. They seem healthy. Dak is just playing too well, and he does such a good job just putting on opposing teams at home that I think that the Cowboys come away with a victory. So I got the Rams, Bucks, and Cowboys advancing. So let's move on to the next round. Ravens taking on the Cleveland Browns. Ravens taking on division rival Cleveland Browns. I have the Browns upsetting the Ravens. Maybe I buried the lead here starting with this game, but that's just what I'm about to do. Ravens, I thought the Ravens were going to be a wagon. And then I'm watching the game week 18, and RG3, Robert Griffin III, brings up this point, and I haven't been able to shake it. Back in 2019, he was the backup quarterback to Lamar Jackson. They were in such a similar situation. They were number 1 seed. Lamar had an MVP type season. They benched everyone in week 18. And then when it came out to their first game against the Tennessee Titans, they were out of sync and they lost because they were out of sync. Out of all the teams that can play in the second round, I think that the Browns are the worst possible matchup for the Ravens because they've played each other twice. They split 1-1. They have a great defense that can get after the quarterback. They have a defense that could keep the Ravens out of sync. That's why I think they upset the Ravens in Baltimore and the Browns advance. Now we have the Bills and Chiefs in Buffalo. Give me the Bills. Revenge game for Josh Allen. I just don't think that the Chiefs wide receivers are good enough to keep this team ahead of the Bills. Now, I know the Bills won in the regular season, and it's tough for teams sometimes to win twice. I think that really comes into play at the third matchup, though, not necessarily the second. Bills will be at home this time. I think they can beat them the same way using James Cook. And I just don't know if the Chiefs have the firepower to play up to a level that they may have to against Josh Allen, who can go Super Saiyan. So I'm going to go with the Bills advancing. Niners and Rams, give me the Niners. I just think they're too good at the end of the day, and they will have a little bit of chip on their shoulder after Carson Wentz beat them in Week 18. I think that is enough of a motivator to keep the Niners ready to rock, and I think they beat the Rams. Bucks, Cowboys, I think it's a stomping by the Cowboys again at home. I do not think that the Swiss cheese secondary cannot stop my man CeeDee Lamb and company. So I think the Cowboys advance. So my semifinals is the Browns heading to Buffalo, Niners hosting the Cowboys. Let's start with the NFC. I am just going to go ahead and say the Niners are going to win at home. Cowboys on the road can't get the job done. They were dog walked earlier in the season. I don't think it'll be a bludgeoning like we saw early in the year, but I do think the Niners advance. And I think the Bills beat the Browns at home. Psych! Bills Mafia. No, they don't. The Browns are making the Super Bowl. The Browns, led by Joe Flacco, are making the Super Bowl. Can you believe it? I'm taking the Browns. I think the defense is just such a disruptive unit. The secondary is good enough to stop the Bills wide receivers, and it just Josh Allen can short circuit just as much as he can go Super Saiyan. I think this is the worst kind of matchup for the Bills at home. Sorry, Buffalo, but the Browns are going to the Super Bowl. So Super Bowl 58, Las Vegas, Browns taking on the Niners, just like what happened back in the day. No, I don't think what's going to happen back in the day. No, Joe Flacco is not going to beat the Niners, right? No, he can't. That's why I'm going 49ers. They are the Super Bowl champs. They hoist the Lombardi trophy in Super Bowl 58. And your MVP, sorry, ladies and gents, maybe it's a boring pick, but it's Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy going to throw him some touchdowns in Vegas. So there you have it. Las Vegas, they'll be hosting Super Bowl 58. Browns and the Niners win the whole damn thing. Brock Purdy is your MVP. I'm at a Keyw. You can check me out here at Player Profiler. I got the game plan, trade gods, blue chips, future cast, got all this stuff coming out. Be on the lookout for my mocks. And we're going to be hitting it heavy this offseason with some prospect content. So stick around and find me on there. And you guys find me on X. I'm at Matty Keyw. This was my playoff preview. My playoff prediction. Let's go, baby. I'll see you next time. Peace.
All right. Seth Dewald here, the editor, the mistake fixer at playerprofiler.com, here to give you my NFL playoff predictions for 2024. And we'll start with the NFC. So the Eagles face Tampa Bay. I'm going to say the Eagles get that one done. I have the Lions knocking off the Rams. The Lions offensive line is going to get it done against the Rams team that offensively is really good with Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Cooper Kupp, one of the best offenses in the league, one of the hottest teams in the league. But I think Detroit is going to be able to get it done at home. Green Bay at Dallas. I think Dallas will get it done. In the NFC Championship game, I have San Francisco. I think San Francisco is the most complete team, the best team, knocking off the Dallas Cowboys to get to the NFC or the Super Bowl. So I have San Francisco in the Super Bowl. Browns, Texans. I think the Browns, even though they're going to be on the road against a Texans team that's young with CJ Stroud, I think the Browns have a better team defensively. I think Joe Flacco is going to play well enough. I think the Browns are going to move on in a rematch, potentially with the Ravens. Chiefs, Dolphins. I like the Chiefs at home at Arrowhead. They did it in Germany. They've already beaten this Dolphins team. And while it's difficult to beat a team 2 times in a year, I think the Chiefs are going to figure out enough things offensively to get the job done. It's snowing. It's cold here right now in Kansas City. That's not going to be good for Miami. So I like the Chiefs. And I like the Bills. I like the Bills at home over the Steelers. The Steelers have overachieved once again with Mike Tomlin. Go figure. And then for the AFC Championship game, I like Baltimore and I like Buffalo to make it to the AFC Championship game. And I'm going to call a pivot here. I'm going to call something that may be a little bit controversial, but I'm going to go Buffalo Bills making the Super Bowl. I'm going to go against the grain here. As much as I want to pick Baltimore, as much as they're one of the favorites to get to the Super Bowl, I think Buffalo is peaking at the right time, and I think the Buffalo Bills are going to make it to the Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers. But ultimately, the San Francisco 49ers, this is their year. Kyle Shanahan gets the monkey off his back and wins the Super Bowl. San Francisco 49ers are going to be your Super Bowl champions in 2024. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons there. And until next time.
Hey guys, Jason with Player Profiler here to break down the 2023 playoffs and give you my picks for the Wild Card Weekend, the championship games, and the Super Bowl. So without further ado, let's get right on into this. First off, we're going to start with the AFC side, the Texans-Browns game. Gonna be a fun one, but as much as I love CJ Stroud and Nico Collins, that team is too hurt, in my opinion, to be able to take on that Browns defense. And the way Joe Flacco is playing on the other side of the ball, I think it could end up being a very close game, but I'm going to have to go with the Browns here. Joe Flacco just playing at a really, really high level. The Cleveland Browns defense is probably the best one in the league right now. And CJ Stroud and Nico Collins, while they're playing well, they're without Tank Dell, and Noah Brown has been injured, so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to play. Robert Woods just isn't enough. John Mechie hasn't stepped up, and I think they're just going to need everyone to be firing on all cylinders to be able to come over that Browns defense, and I just don't see it happening as close as it may be. Next year, though, might be the Texans' year. So the Browns beating the Texans in that game. The next one will be the Chiefs-Dolphins. And unfortunately for the Dolphins, I can't bet against the Chiefs. I just can't. I know they've had a down year. Travis Kelce's not himself. There's no wide receivers, but it's still Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And the Dolphins have not been good this year against good competition. In fact, the Patriots this year beat more teams above 500 than the Dolphins did. And that is evidenced by the fact the Dolphins absolutely fumbled the number 2 seed and ended up here in the 6th seed. I think they have a very tough time in this game beating the Chiefs. The defensive coordinator is going to cook up a great game plan to stop the former Chief Tyreek Hill, and the Chiefs will win this game against the Dolphins. Next, Bills, Steelers. And this might have been different if TJ Watt played. If TJ Watt was in this game, I certainly believe the Steelers could have won this game. But without him, it's just going to be too tough to stop Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So we're going to go with them. I do think it could be closer than people are saying. I believe it's a 9.5-point favorite for Buffalo. I think the Steelers can definitely cover that. Mason Rudolph has been playing decent. George Pickens has finally come to life. Najee Harris has randomly come to life. And the defense, even without TJ Watt, is still good enough. Alex Highsmith could probably get a couple sacks in this one, keeping it close. And I know Mike Tomlin doesn't want to get blown out in a playoff game. So let's go with the Bills, but I do think the Steelers could sneakily cover this one. For the NFC wild card, we'll start with the Buccaneers-Eagles. And I do want to say that I firmly believe that while they came from the NFC South, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are a true playoff team. They are playing really well on both sides of the ball. Baker Mayfield has impressed. Mike Evans is amazing. He's a Hall of Famer. But I'm not going to bet against the Eagles. I know that they've won 5 of their last 6. Jalen Hurts has a hurt finger. A.J. Brown has disappeared. Devontae Smith has been injured. Dallas Goedert is coming back from injury. But I just don't believe or can't find myself to believe that Jalen Hurts and these Eagles will not show up in the playoffs. I can't bet against the Eagles in the playoffs. I just won't do it. I think Jalen Hurts is just the type of player with that it factor to turn things around when it matters most. So I'm going to go with the Eagles over the Buccaneers, despite how cold they are right now. The next game is the Lions-Rams. Very fun storyline here with Matthew Stafford heading back to Detroit to take on his Lions. And I think that the Rams can win this game and will. This is going to be the upset I pick here. I believe that the Rams can go into Detroit and beat them. As much as it sucks, it's totally going to come down onto Jared Goff's shoulders. What can he do with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, but also with Aaron Donald running in his face every single play? I think Jared Goff is going to have a tough game in this one. And I also think Matthew Stafford is going to be very fired up in Detroit with this little homecoming scenario here. And I think Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyren Williams is just going to be too much for this Lions defense to stop on a regular basis. And the Rams end up topping the Lions in their first playoff game in years. The next game is the Cowboys-Packers. And this is a very interesting game. The Packers are very hot right now. This is a classic rival game. You've got Mike McCarthy going back to Green Bay, although it is in Dallas. So you have that kind of storyline as well. But the Cowboys win it. The Packers, while they're playing really well, while Jordan Love is finally coming back or finally showing life, the Cowboys have to win this game. They just do. Very good football team on both sides of the ball. Dak Prescott playing really well. Tony Pollard finally scoring. CeeDee Lamb having the best year of his career. So I'm going to go with the Cowboys here, but I think this could turn into a bigger shootout than expected. So now we've made it to the divisional rounds. We will say for the AFC that the Ravens beat the Browns. They just stopped Joe Flacco. I think that this could be a very good game. You have very good defenses here, but you're going to have to go with the Ravens making it to the AFC Championship. I know it's chalk, but they are so good right now, even without Mark Andrews. So Ravens in the AFC Championship taking on the Bills, who will beat the Chiefs. I know I said that I didn't want to bet against the Chiefs, but I do believe that the Bills finally overcome their hurdle, right? They just have always a tough time beating the Chiefs, but I think this is the year they finally do it. They'll be able to stop Travis Kelce in this game, and they'll be able to score some points. I think the Bills will finally beat the Chiefs and find themselves in the AFC Championship to take on the Ravens. But the Ravens will beat them to go to the Super Bowl. It's just the Ravens defense is too good. They've been shutting down really good quarterbacks all year. And I just think that the Ravens are too good on both sides of the ball to not make the Super Bowl. I think this is Lamar Jackson's year to finally make it to the big dance. And then on the NFC side, we have the 49ers taking on the Rams and the Cowboys taking on the Eagles. I'm going to go with an upset here and say that the Eagles beat the Cowboys this time. The Eagles got embarrassed by the Cowboys this year recently, but I think that they turn it around. They get fired up coming off a win against the Buccaneers, go into Dallas and beat them. And I'm expecting the Eagles to make it to back-to-back NFC championships against the 49ers, who will be able to really dismantle their division rival Rams. I do believe that normally in the regular season, these 49ers-Rams games are close, but the 49ers in this divisional round, coming off the bye, playing against a familiar opponent, they're going to really give it to the Rams, and they will make it to the NFC Championship, where they will beat the Eagles. The 49ers-Ravens will be this year's Super Bowl. I know it's chalk. I know it's less exciting, but we'll have some great football leading up to those games, and this will be a fantastic Super Bowl between the Niners and Ravens. Now, who will win it? I'm going to go with the 49ers. I know Brock Purdy looked terrible against the Ravens when they played in the regular season. Worst game of his career, and probably will end up being the worst game of his career when he retires. Terrible, terrible performance by him. But this time they will turn it around and they will beat the Ravens, learning their lesson from the regular season game. And Christian McCaffrey will be the MVP. It won't be Purdy. It won't be Deebo. It won't be Kittle. It won't be anyone on defense. It'll be Christian McCaffrey, who goes for over 200 total yards and scores 3 all-purpose touchdowns. Going to be a great game from him as the 49ers win the Super Bowl. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you want more from me, tune into Trade Gods, tune into Wake and Take. Follow me on Twitter at JFootballWine, and make sure you go follow Player Profiler social media on all our channels. Have a great day. Peace.
Hey everyone, here Bradley Stalder from Player Profiler, and I'm here to give you my NFL playoff predictions. We'll start with Houston and Cleveland. I think Cleveland prevails. They've got the better defense, and CJ Stroud plays admirably, but it's Joe Flacco's playoff experience that gets him into the next round, and the Browns in the next round. In the Kansas City-Miami game, I think Miami is too banged up. I think Kansas City moves on, and they're going to face the Buffalo Bills, who romp right on over the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are going to be without TJ Watt. So we're going to see Baltimore, Cleveland, and Kansas City, Buffalo in the AFC. On the NFC side, I think you're going to see San Francisco in the bye. Tampa Bay, though, is going to
beat the Eagles. The Eagles are struggling on offense. Jalen Hurts has a messed up finger, and A.J. Brown is dealing with a pretty significant knee injury. I think Tampa Bay plays reckless, and they beat the Eagles in round 1. So it's San Francisco, Tampa Bay in round number 2. Detroit and the LA Rams. It's a matchup between Stafford and Goff, and I think the Lions are, as much as the Rams are a defense that has stepped up time and again, I think the Lions have too many options on offense. And then for the surprise, not surprise, go Pack go. Can you tell? Go Packers. They're going to knock off and upset the Dallas Cowboys, and it's going to cause Mike McCarthy to lose his job. I think that's what we're going to see with Dallas being knocked out in round 1 and my Green Bay Packer bias. We talk about recklessly. Jordan Love is playing recklessly. And so I think Baltimore, Cleveland in the next round. I think Baltimore moves on. Their defense is better. Lamar is the MVP candidate for a reason. Kansas City, Buffalo. I think Buffalo moves on. Kansas City is not able to keep up with scoring the amount of points necessary to beat Buffalo. San Francisco easily handles Tampa Bay after a 1-week wonder, and Detroit moves on and beats Green Bay. They're just a more disciplined team under Dan Campbell. And now we get to the AFC Championship game between Baltimore and Buffalo. I think Baltimore moves on. Their defense is more disciplined, and Lamar is able to hold himself up against Buffalo's Josh Allen. I think Allen makes a couple mistakes against Baltimore, and that leads to Baltimore moving to the Super Bowl. San Francisco versus Detroit. I think San Francisco is a more complete team, and that's why they're going to move on ahead of Detroit. So it's going to be Baltimore, San Francisco in the Super Bowl. And I think that Baltimore prevails 24-20 is my prediction, and that Lamar Jackson wins the MVP of the league and is Super Bowl MVP. If you like all these takes, make sure you guys are also checking out the takes that I have on Stack Hunters every week during the off season. It's a best ball podcast where I bring some of the best and brightest in the best ball streets to discuss and draft and talk strategy with me about all things best ball. I've had James Burmacombe on, I've had Justin Herzig, Mike Leone, and many others on the Stack Hunters podcast this past year. Make sure you guys are checking out Stack Hunters and all the other things that Player Profiler is offering. I'm Bradley Stalder. Good luck with your best ball playoff teams, everyone.
What's happening, guys? It's Memphis from the Juice Podcast, as well as the Dynasty Warzone. Going to give you my playoff predictions for 2023-24. Let's go into Saturday. We have Houston hosting Cleveland. Houston, a 2.5-point home underdog. Give me the Brownies, guys. It's all about experience. Love CJ Stroud. I love what he and D'Amico Ryans have done this year, but they're a year away from being a year away. So I'm going to take Joe Flacco and Stefanski. Give me the Browns to not upset their favorite, but I'll take the Browns to beat Houston. And then Saturday night, a game we'll all have to watch on the Peacock app. And it's going to be Miami going to a very frigid Kansas City. Kansas City, 4-point home favorite currently. And when I say frigid, I mean it could be one of the top 5 coldest playoff games in NFL history. That does not serve well for Tua and an offense that normally likes to play in that 60-degree range, as well as all the defensive injuries for the Miami Dolphins. So I'm going Kansas City at home. Sunday, 1 o'clock. If there was ever a 1 o'clock game, man, it's Buffalo hosting Pittsburgh. Buffalo, a 10-point favorite. Going to be some weather in this game as well. Buffalo, 10-point favorite at home. I'm going to go Buffalo. I love the story. I love Mason Rudolph. I love Mike Tomlin, but I'm going Buffalo, Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, get it done. Let's go Sunday afternoon. Actually shocked we're not getting this game as the Sunday night game, but we're getting Green Bay at Dallas. Dallas, a 7.5-point favorite at home. And everything I said about Houston, I'm going to say the same thing about Green Bay. They're a year away from being a year away. Love what I saw out of Jordan Love this year. No pun intended. Like the young weapons. But you're not going to beat Dallas in Dallas. It's just too good of an offense at home. Give me the Cowboys. Sunday night, the prodigal son returns and Matthew Stafford goes back to Detroit. And this is my upset of the weekend. I guess theoretically, seeding wise, the Browns would be an upset, but the Rams go into Detroit. It's good that Detroit got there. They won the division. That's great. But Sean McVay, he's got the advantage in the playoffs over Dan Campbell. So I'm taking the Rams, upset special, even though the Detroit Lions are a 3.5-point home favorite. Give me the Rams. And then Monday night, going to be honest, don't love Monday Night Football. And the playoff edition, I don't know what it is. It just doesn't suit me. But Philadelphia on the road at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, a 3-point home dog. I was leaning Tampa Bay, but the more I read, the more I hear Baker still banged up, got the ankle, got the ribs. I think Philadelphia can muster enough offense to get the job done. So I'm going to take Philly to beat Tampa Bay. So let's get divisional, and there's going to be a lot of them. Let's get divisional, the divisional round. We're going to have Cleveland at Baltimore, and I'm going Cleveland upset again, just like it happened to the Ravens and Lamar the last time they were the 1 seed. I think Cleveland goes in there and shocks the world. I don't love that Baltimore rested a bunch of starters, and then they get the bye week. We've seen this movie before. Give me the Brownies to upset Baltimore. And then Kansas City actually has to go to Buffalo. That's right. Patrick Mahomes plays an away playoff game. And I'm going to take Josh Allen again, just because they can muster enough offense to get by the lowly Miami Dolphins. Buffalo gets the job done at home. And then in the NFC, another divisional game, we're going to have the Rams at San Francisco. San Francisco, tough matchup for the Rams. We saw it last week with the backups. Give me the Niners at home, get the job done. And then Tampa at Dallas, same thing. I don't think anybody, even San Francisco, if they were to play in Dallas, it's a different ball game because Dallas at home scores about 30 points a game. Give me the Cowboys. And then we're going to go to the AFC and NFC championship game. You got Cleveland at Buffalo. Joe Flacco versus Josh Allen. I'm taking Josh Allen. He and Sean McDermott get over the hump. They make it to the Super Bowl. And who will they play of the winner of Dallas and San Francisco? They're going to play the San Francisco 49ers. If this game was in Dallas, I would be taking Dallas. But on the natural surface there in San Francisco, I'm taking the San Francisco 49ers to get the job done over Dallas. And then Super Bowl in Las Vegas. I don't know if that makes Buffalo the home field, the home team or not. I'm still going to take Buffalo over San Francisco. It's a bold prediction, but I think it's time that Josh Allen and Sean McDermott get this done. That's the theme. And my MVP, my man Josh Allen. I've loved Josh Allen since he was a rookie. He finally gets that monkey off his back. He wins the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. The champagne flows. And I will see you Friday on the Juice to cover all these games from a betting perspective. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great week, guys.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.